What happens when two of Hollywood's most outspoken women sit across from each other, and the conversation takes a turn no one expected? Today we're unpacking the tense exchange that had everyone talking when Jada Pinkett Smith appeared on the Kelly Clarkson show. What began as a light-hearted conversation about family and relationships quickly unraveled into one of the most uncomfortable daytime TV moments of the year. By the end, security would be called, voices raised, and one guest asked to leave the stage. The show started like any other. A cheerful atmosphere, feel-good energy, Kelly Clarkson flashing her signature smile as she welcomed her guest. The audience applauded. The two women shared a quick embrace. And for a brief moment, it seemed like just another heartwarming interview. Jada, it's so wonderful to have you here, Kelly began warmly. I've been following your journey, especially how open you've been recently about your personal life. I think it's so brave of you to share that with your fans. Jada shifted slightly in her chair, her body language betraying a hint of tension. I appreciate that, Kelly, she replied carefully. But I think the word brave gets thrown around too easily. I'm just living my truth, sharing what I believe needs to be shared. Kelly pressed on, unaware, or perhaps unwilling to notice, the edge in Jada's tone. Speaking of truth, she continued, I wanted to ask about your relationship with Will and how you've navigated such challenging times together. I think a lot of our viewers could learn from that. The cameras caught it, the flicker in Jada's eyes, the tightening of her expression. She leaned forward. Kelly, let me ask you something. Do you actually watch the things I share, or do your producers just hand you talking points? The studio air thickened. Kelly's smile faltered for the first time. Well, of course I stay informed. That's part of being a good interviewer, right? Is it, though? Jada cut in, her tone sharper now. Because every interview seems to circle back to the same tired narrative about my marriage, about my personal life, without any real understanding of the context or the complexity behind what I share. Kelly gave a nervous laugh, trying to recover. I think people are just drawn to authentic relationships. How couples work through struggles. Isn't that why you've been so open? And with that, the spark caught fire. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Jada snapped, her voice rising. You're making assumptions. You're creating a storyline that fits your show, not actually listening to me. The audience was silent now, the tension palpable. Kelly's smile grew tighter by the second. I'm not creating a narrative, Jada. I'm asking the questions I think people care about. Your audience, Jada repeated with emphasis. That's the problem. You're not speaking to me. You're performing for them. And that's not the same as a genuine conversation. The room shifted. Kelly's composure cracked slightly as she glanced toward her producers off camera. Jada, I try to create a safe space here. A place where guests feel comfortable opening up. A safe space? Jada shot back incredulous. Kelly, do you even know what that means? Because I don't feel safe right now. I feel like I'm being interrogated for ratings. Kelly inhaled deeply, her professionalism strained but intact. If you'd rather, we can change the subject. Maybe talk about your acting projects. Or red table talk. Oh, so now you want to pivot to the easy topics? Jada shook her head. You're fine exploiting my personal life for views. But the moment I push back, suddenly you'd rather play it safe. That's not authenticity, Kelly. That's manipulation. The audience sat frozen, realizing they were watching something far beyond ordinary talk show drama. Kelly tried again, her voice more brittle now. I think there's a misunderstanding. I'm not trying to exploit you. I just wanted a real conversation. Are you sure about that? Jada's tone was razor-sharp now. Because from where I'm sitting, you invited me here with an agenda. And the moment I don't play along, you don't know what to do with me. Kelly's cheeks flushed. Her usual confidence wavered. I invited you because I thought you had something important to share. But honestly, I'm feeling a little attacked right now. That was the breaking point. Attacked? Jada's voice thundered. Kelly, you have no idea what being attacked feels like. You've built your whole brand on being America's sweetheart. Relatable, safe, adored. But the second someone challenges you, you crumble and play the victim. That's not strength. That's performance. The studio fell into a suffocating silence. The audience held its breath, fully aware they were witnessing a meltdown that would be replayed, dissected, and debated long after the cameras stopped rolling. Kelly's hands trembled slightly as she clutched her note cards, struggling to steady herself. Her voice wavered as she finally spoke. Jada, I don't think I'm playing the victim here. I just don't understand why you're so angry with me when I haven't done anything wrong. I invited you here for a positive conversation. Jada pointed at her, her voice cutting through the silence. There it is again. Positive conversation. Everything has to be sunshine and rainbows for you, doesn't it, Kelly? Everything has to fit into your perfect little bubble where nobody asks the hard questions. Nobody shakes the table. For the first time, Kelly's jaw tightened. The flash of irritation across her face was unmistakable. That's not true, and it's not fair to paint me that way. I've had plenty of difficult conversations on this show. Have you really? Jada leaned back, arms crossed. Because from what I've seen, it's always the same formula. You ask softball questions, coax just enough vulnerability for good TV, and then wrap it all up with some inspirational bow. That's not real conversation, Kelly. That's manufactured intimacy. The words landed like a slap. Kelly's composure cracked. You know what, Jada? I work hard to create an environment where people feel safe enough to share. I'm proud of the connections I build with my guests and my audience. Connection? Jada scoffed. You don't connect. You perform connection. Real connection is messy, risky, uncomfortable. And you can't handle messy. Kelly's voice rose, her accent thickening with anger. Oh, I can handle plenty. What I can't handle is being dragged on my own show by someone who seems like they came here just to tear me down for no reason. No reason? Jada shot back, her eyes flashing. The reason is, I'm tired of people like you turning people like me into entertainment. You want the pain, the drama, the struggle, but only in bite-sized pieces that make your audience feel good. Kelly stiffened. People like me? What's that supposed to mean, Jada? It means people who've never had to fight for anything real. Jada said coldly. People who were handed success and then act like they understand adversity. That broke Kelly's restraint. She stood abruptly, her hands shaking. You think I've never fought for anything? You think my life has been easy? I grew up poor, Jada. I clawed my way into this industry. I've battled depression, body shaming, divorce, raising kids in the spotlight. Don't you dare say I haven't struggled. Jada remained seated, her calmness now cutting like a knife. And look how well it worked out for you. All of that pain, all of those hardships, just folded neatly into your brand. Kelly Clarkson, America's sweetheart who overcame adversity. You turned your struggles into marketing material. Gasps rippled through the audience. The silence afterward was suffocating. Kelly's face flushed red. Her voice trembled, but her words were firm. That is one of the cruelest things anyone has ever said to me. My struggles are not marketing. My pain is not a brand strategy. Isn't it, though? Jada pressed, relentless. When was the last time you shared something raw on this stage? Something vulnerable, without polishing it into a lesson or a feel-good moment for the cameras? Kelly said nothing at first, her chest heaving as she fought for control. When she finally spoke, her voice was quiet but carried steel. You're right about one thing. I do try to help people feel better. I do try to find hope in the darkness, because this world is already hard enough without people like you making it harder. Jada's eyes narrowed. People like me? You mean people who tell the truth, even when it's ugly? People who refuse to sugarcoat? No, Kelly snapped, her voice suddenly strong again. I mean people who seem to take satisfaction in tearing others down. The audience sat frozen, every eye locked on the two women as the atmosphere in the studio shifted from tense to explosive. teetering on the edge of something that could no longer be contained. People who mistake cruelty for honesty, Kelly shot back, and think that being harsh somehow makes them more authentic than everyone else. That was the moment Jada rose from her chair, closing the space between them. Her voice was steady but dangerous. Cruelty, Kelly? You have no idea what real cruelty looks like. What you call cruelty, I call accountability. What you call harsh, I call refusing to play along with the fantasy that everything is beautiful and everyone is doing their best. And what I call that, Kelly snapped, her voice rising, is bitterness and taking it out on people who don't deserve it. The word bitter landed like a slap. Jada's face changed instantly, her eyes narrowing into a cold glare. Did you just call me bitter? Kelly's face drained of color. She knew she'd gone too far. I didn't mean it like that. No. Jada cut her off, her voice a low growl. You meant it exactly like that. You meant it the way people always mean it when a woman refuses to sit down and smile. When we're passionate, we're angry. When we're direct, we're aggressive. And when we refuse to be palatable, we're bitter. That's not what I said, Kelly protested, though the conviction was gone from her voice. It's exactly what you said, Jada pressed, stepping closer. And maybe I am bitter. Bitter from interview after interview with people who profit off my story, without ever understanding it. Bitter from explaining myself to people who have never lived a day in my shoes, but think they know better about my life than I do. Kelly's hands shook openly now. Jada, I think we should end this interview. Oh, now you want to end it? Jada laughed harshly, the sound echoing across the silent studio. Now that it's not neat and marketable, now that I'm not giving you sound bites for your promos, suddenly it's over. I want to end it, Kelly said firmly, pointing at the cameras. Because this isn't a conversation anymore. This is something else entirely. This isn't what anyone signed up for. This is exactly what you signed up for, Jada countered. This is what happens when you invite someone on your show without preparing for who they actually are. This is what happens when you confuse performance with authenticity. Kelly stepped back, her voice rising with her anger. You're right. I wasn't prepared for this version of you. I was prepared for the woman who writes books about healing and growth, who talks about peace and understanding, not someone determined to make everyone else as miserable as they are. The audience gasped audibly. Even the crew shifted uncomfortably. Jada froze, her expression turning to stone. Excuse me? You heard me, Kelly said, her voice hardening. I've tried to be respectful, Jada. I've tried to understand you. But all you've done is attack me, my show, my character. And for what? Because I asked you questions you've already answered 100 times in public? Jada stepped forward until the two women were almost nose to nose. Her voice was low, dangerous. Kelly, you do not want to go down this road with me. Kelly stood her ground. What road is that? The one where someone finally tells you that authenticity doesn't give you permission to be cruel? That sharing your truth doesn't mean you get to weaponize it against everyone else? You think you know me? Jada hissed. You think a few headlines and sound bites give you the right to define me? Kelly's voice shook, but she refused to back down. I think I know enough to recognize when someone is using their pain as a weapon against people who don't deserve it. That pierced through Jada's composure. Her mask cracked, rage spilling out. How dare you? How dare you sit here in your shiny little studio with your perfect little image and judge me? You don't know anything about pain. You don't know what it's like to have your marriage dissected, your family torn apart, your private life turned into a global punchline. Kelly snapped, shouting now. Then why do you keep talking about it? If it's so painful, if it's so private, then why keep bringing it up? Why write books about it? Why host shows about it? Why do interview after interview and then act outraged when people ask you about it? Jada faltered for the first time, caught off guard. The audience leaned forward, sensing the shift. Kelly pressed on, her voice rising with momentum. You can't have it both ways, Jada. You can't put it all out there for the world to consume and then act like it's a violation when people respond. You can't demand attention and then resent the consequences. That's not authenticity. That's manipulation. The silence that followed was suffocating. Jada's fists clenched at her sides. The tension had reached a boiling point, the entire studio bracing for what came next. That's not... Jada started, but Kelly cut her off. That's not what? That's not fair. That's not how you wanted this to go? Well, welcome to reality, Jada. Welcome to what it's like when someone doesn't just nod along with everything you say and call you brave and inspiring. Jada's hands curled into fists at her sides. Kelly, you need to stop talking right now. Or what? Kelly shot back, her voice almost trembling with the adrenaline coursing through her. What are you going to do, Jada? Storm off? Throw a tantrum? Do exactly what you're accusing me of, playing the victim? I am not playing victim. Jada's voice was dangerously quiet. But you're about to find out what happens when you push someone too far. Kelly let out a sharp laugh, half hysteria, half defiance. Is that a threat? Are you actually threatening me on my own show? Movement flickered at the edge of the stage as several producers crept closer, exchanging frantic glances. One of them, a middle-aged man with a headset, finally stepped forward. Ladies, I think we need to take a break. No! Both women snapped in unison, eyes locked on each other. Jada leaned forward, her voice like steel. Kelly, you've spent this entire interview making assumptions about me, judging me, putting me in a box that makes you comfortable, and now you want to lecture me about how I handle my own life? I want to understand. Kelly fired back, her voice rising again. Why you even came on my show if you hate everything about it. Why you agreed to be here if you think I'm such a terrible person and such a fake host. Because I thought maybe, just maybe, you might be different, Jada said. Her tone dripped with disappointment. I thought maybe underneath all the sunshine and rainbows there was a real person who could handle a real conversation. But I was wrong, wasn't I? You're exactly what you appear to be. Surface level. Performative. Completely unable to deal with anything that doesn't fit your predetermined narrative. Here stung Kelly's eyes. But her voice held steady. And you're exactly what I thought you were. Too. Angry. Bitter. So caught up in your own pain you can't see past it long enough to treat other people with basic decency. That's it, Jada said, snapping her gaze to the producers. I'm done. This interview is over. Actually, Kelly cut in, her voice sharp enough to slice through the tension. You don't get to decide when this interview is over. This is my show, my studio, and if anyone's done here, it's because I say so. Jada turned back, incredulous. Are you seriously trying to control me right now? I'm trying to salvage some professionalism from the disaster you've created. Kelly shot back, then almost spitting the words. But you're right. This interview is over. Not because you want it to be, because I'm ending it. She turned to the camera, tears streaming down her cheeks, but her voice was steady. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for what you've witnessed here today. This is not the kind of conversation we typically have on this show, and it's not the environment I ever want to create for my guests or my audience. Don't you dare! Jada snapped, stepping toward her again. Don't you dare apologize for me, like I'm some problem you need to manage. Then don't act like one. Kelly shot back instantly. The producer moved in again, firmer this time. Jada, I think it's best if you leave the studio now. I think it's best if you mind your own business, Jada retorted, before turning back to Kelly. Her voice dripped with venom. This isn't over. Yes, it is, Kelly said firmly. She didn't blink. Security, please escort Ms. Pinkett Smith from the building. 2 security guards stepped into frame, approaching with cautious but deliberate steps. Jada's eyes swept the studio, the crew frozen in disbelief, the audience staring wide-eyed. And finally, Kelly standing with her tear-stained but unflinching face. "This is who you really are," Jada said as the guards flanked her. "When someone doesn't play by your rules, you have them removed." "No." Kelly's voice cracked, but her words carried weight. "This is what happens when someone comes into my space and treats me and everyone here with complete disrespect. When someone mistakes honesty for cruelty and thinks that justifies hurting people." As the guards gently but firmly guided Jada toward the exit, she called back over her shoulder, "The truth hurts, doesn't it, Kelly?" Kelly watched until Jada disappeared from sight, then turned back to the camera, wiping her face. "Sometimes it does, Jada. Sometimes it really does." The studio was silent. The weight of the confrontation hung in the air. Raw, shocking, unforgettable. It had been unlike anything anyone had ever seen on daytime television. A total breakdown of the celebrity interview script, exposing something uncomfortably real about both women, and that's the story of how one of Hollywood's most unexpected confrontations unfolded in front of a live studio audience, leaving everyone involved questioning what they had just witnessed. What do you think about how both Kelly and Jada handled this situation? Were there things both of them could have done differently? Or was this confrontation inevitable from the moment they sat down together? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button for more celebrity drama breakdowns.